Hey guys, my name is Moshpiti, and today I've got a couple replays in an absolute World War II classic, the Tier 8 Centurion, and let's see what I can do with it. So we are on Vineyards. It's a bottom tier game, but that's just fine by me. My mate Maniac is playing through the artillery tech trees, I believe, at this point. And I think he's in the Russian Tier 8 already. What that means for me, well, not much. I'm gonna play it like normal, but it does mean that as I get 10 enemy tanks lit up, my friendly artillery is gonna shoot at the tanks that I'm spotting, because obviously we're in a platoon. Normally when you're playing with artillery on your team, you kind of have to hope that they help you and not like shoot at whatever they see in the distance or try to blind fire the enemy arty or whatever. Because I'm in a platoon with one, although I have to go at it alone in the sense that he can't really push in and support me, at least not in a conventional way, I do always have arty support wherever I go, so that's kind of nice. Anyway, Centurion. It's a pretty basic tank. It's a classic, like I said, in World War II. It's like as old as the game, I believe. This was one of the earliest tech trees. And it's a bit power crept. A lot of people think it's worse than it actually is. I actually thought it's worse than it is. When I started finally playing this tank, I was kind of dreading, like, oh my, what is this? Like, I wish I had the atomic, because that's one of the most iconic, over-buffed medium tanks in the game. But the tech tree Centurion, not actually half bad. I think it's totally fine. AP penetration is pretty nice. You don't have to fire gold. Decent mobility. It goes up to 50 kilometers an hour. Just takes a little to accelerate there. Good gun depression. Fantastic view range. With optics, you can get it over 500 meters. And it doesn't have a lot of armor, which I kind of prefer because it makes it a meatball tank. A meatball tank is something people want to gobble up when they see it, especially tier 10s like here. So I'm pushing in with the sole purpose of being like alluring, oh yeah, easy kill, easy damage, I want them to push into me so that they, the snipers behind me can take easy shots as possible. Now, just as I was dissing the armor, I actually bounced something pretty big as well for 90. Like, it does have spaced armor on the sides, and the tracks are not actually part of the hull at the front, so they can eat shells. But again, you really don't want to play the Centurion thinking you've got armor. But this is kind of how I always play Vineyards, especially from this spawn. Normally, exactly what's happening here happens where your team doesn't want to push in at all. So you've got maybe 2 tanks pushing and then 10 shooting from the behind. I would say sniping and shooting, so sniping from the behind. And, well, I'm not going to ping them, I'm not going to get mad at it, I'm just going to use that to my advantage. I'm going to try to lure the enemies out into the open. I'm going to push in and try to spot enemies. I'm going to try to keep them engaged, so as they get more impatient, they make mistakes. And of course, as when it comes to artillery, it really is nothing you can do about it, as the enemy turret gets taken up by my platoon mate. Now, I've been saving my hit points, so it's time to finally use them as I push into this pallet. I'm kind of hoping that he shoots at my outer track, because again, that's not like in my hull. If he shoots the tracks that's outside of my hull, it doesn't do damage to me, it just takes them off. Unfortunately, he knew better and didn't do that, but that's fine. We still have 900 health left, and it's a 12 to 8. We're already sitting on 4,500 combined damage. I love Vineyards when your team actually helps you like this. And again, helping doesn't always mean that they push in with you or, they do exactly what you want, but just the fact that they're shooting at targets that I'm spotting, that's already plenty, there's nothing to get mad about that. Moving to finish off the ISU here. Kind of the thing with Vineyards though, as you can see, my team still hasn't moved out, and now it's becoming a bit problematic. So, in a perfect world, yeah, our team's gonna shoot as I spot for them and then push in, and I can like move forward and spot for them as they go. That didn't happen here, so I'm gonna let my team push in first instead. Luckily our first shot actually tracks the T69, so we get some more damage out of that. And now there is a object 705, I believe, behind us. And my friend in the artillery is getting a bit pissed at my team. Again, my team is sitting in the same position they've been sitting the entire game, and they refuse to push this heavy. So my mate in the arty decides to take it into his own hands And I'm waiting for a clean shot. I couldn't tell if the tank's facing me or facing its rear to me, so I waited for my shot there. As soon as I realized I'm seeing its rear, I started blasting in. And again, like, my mate in the artillery, I mean, all he has to do is keep the enemy occupied, and I can just put in the damage. Obviously, he got some damage off as well. What a difference a little bit of teamwork would do. Unfortunately, our team was rather lazy, so he had to throw away his hit points there, but that's fine. That's what teamwork is. Sometimes it means just taking one for the team. Now we're already sitting on 3,400 damage and 3,300 assisted on top of that. Insanely, like, successful game. Obviously, Vineyards can be a bit of a coin flip. Like, sometimes your team is camping like they were here, but they just, for some reason, will not fire at the enemies. Sometimes they get spotted out and sniped out. But this was a perfect example of how, if all the planets align, how I would always love to play Vineyards, especially as a bottom tier. But after this, let's go check out how I play when I'm top tier in the Centurion. Alright, so second replay, we are on Swamp. And like I said, I'm top tier. And let's see what I can do with what comes with that. With the main difference between being bottom tier and top tier for the Centurion is just how much damage the enemies can dish out to me. So essentially it just means that I can get more risky, right? I have more wiggle room, I can make more mistakes. You know, I'm not going to take 1,000 damage from a Taran in a top tier game, so I get to play a little more recklessly. And luckily enough, we get the top tier game on Swamp, because as I've said before in other replays, I have no, like, strong plan when I go into Swamp. I'm always kind of winging it. I'm always just trying to read the situation, like where my team is, where the enemies are, what kind of tanks I'm facing and stuff like that. In this case, I saw our team is already pushing pretty hard along the edges. Now, they're already engaging by the castle, but what that also means is if I spot enemies crossing here, there's a good chance I'm going to get some assistance from the guys on my left. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen. 0 assisted damage, that's fine. Like I said, read the room, I'm like, okay, so that's a bust. I'm going to move to my right instead. We're already getting some tanks pushing up here, which kind of makes sense because it's like the blind spot for my team. So I'm going to plug that. We run into a Minotaur, that's fine. If that was like a Gorinich, the DPM on that thing would be just insane. But because it's the Minotaur, I'm like, yeah, that's that's totally fine. I can just chip away at that at my own leisure. And we find an enemy already. What? Why? Why are you there, Mr. Artillery? Not that I'm complaining, but like, don't do that. If you're playing artillery, don't do that. Just stay at the back. I have no idea what that plan was. It's completely fine. He's out of the game. That was their only already. So now I'm like free to play hold down the rest of the game as much as I wish. Now we're getting pushed by the enemy's spear panzer. Not pushed. I think it's just doing some like Rambo scouting run. So we punish him for it. He bumps into a rock as well. But basically everything that could go wrong is going wrong for him. The TD he's probably trying to scout for, he's trying to push me instead, the Hellcat. And I'm making sure to track him in place. Just so that he doesn't get to escape and get camoed up and start sniping us from the distance. And we take him out. Now it's time for the spear panzer. Get out of here. Get out of here, buddy. There we go. And now it's just the Minotaur. Like I said, not worried about it. Its DPM is atrocious. Its gun depression is even worse. He was never a real threat to me. And we just chip away at it. Now if he starts pushing in, obviously my friend is in the artillery again. So he's going to be able to get shots on the Minotaur as well. So he was just screwed, unfortunately. We'll make short work of him. Now, if you've never faced these things before, or you have and you don't know where to pen them, either hit the forward little turrets like I'm hitting here, or the lower plate. And it's the weakest part. Don't shoot at the turret, don't bother with the sides, just go for the little tits at the front, and you should have a easy time penning it. We find a Talon in the distance. Now you can really tell how the turret actually can bounce quite a bit of shots when you're top tier. And it's not like the tank is still terribly armored, but the turret, like the gun mantle and stuff, that actually is pretty armored. and more importantly, lower tier tanks don't have a very high accuracy. So the odds of them hitting the most like thickest part of your armor increases the lower tier you go, rather than the armor itself doesn't get better, just the chance of enemies hitting the weak spots of your tank. Like that gets worse. So that's kind of why the Centurion gets so powerful when it's top tier. Now I'm getting a little carried away trying to take out this Borask here. And obviously I make a mistake, overextend, I start to lose health. Happens to the best of us. We're already sitting on a pretty decent game here. My mate's getting some shots off with the artillery. But like I said earlier, it's just not one of those games where spotting is really happening. We're only sitting at 900 damage or assisted right now. But we are also blasting out 5,500 raw damage, so... What then my team is unable to get, I am able to get myself. Now we're finally running out of AP ammo here. You can play this tank with only AP, and no APZR, or you can play with only APZR and no AP at all. I like to have a 50-50 split. I think the basic penetration of the AP is well strong enough to play even in tier 10. But that said, the APZR is faster and has more pen, so if you want to go full gold, no shame there, just, you know, you do you, whatever works best for you. And now the Borask that I was focusing is finally fed up with my shit, and he is pushing in. I know he's pushing in. There's just not much I can do about it. If I push out, he's gonna run just laps around me. So I just make sure to get as many kills as I can, do as much damage as I can, try to kind of stack the odds in our favor. It's 7-3. But a really good player in a really powerful tank like that Borask can absolutely still carry a game like this. So we make sure to put him as low as possible. But unfortunately that does it for us. Now let's just skip to the end and see if we win the game. Unsurprisingly, a one-shot Borask isn't gonna do miracles, but he did survive until last. He did take out one more tank. We get the MVP, my mate Maniac, with the RD in second place, with no less than 3,000 damage and 4 kills on himself as well. Ace tanker, and a hell of a game. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope to see you next time.